Hi guys, so Sky News has started running stories about polling. Yes, 4 years out from a general election. It appears that it isn't just the likes of GB News and Talk TV who are excited at the idea of Reform UK doing well according to some polls. But they ran with a story about data from YouGov Sky News voting intentions, and as you'll see, Nigel Farage's Reform are now ahead of Keir Starmer's Labour. Sam Coates here talks about the possibility of the Tories and Reform forming a pact, something that Kemi Badenoch has ruled out. However, there's one major issue that both Sam and Sophy Ridge are missing when it comes to this poll.
Because what it does, Sophie, is it puts Reform UK in the lead. Only by a little bit and only after a small change, but Reform UK in the latest voting intention poll are on 25%, overtaking Labour, who were top, who are on 24%. The Tories down in third on 21%. Liberal Democrats on 14% and Green on 9%. Now, I said quite small movements. What's happened to get Nigel Farage's party out in front is that since last week, Reform have gone up 2 and Labour down 3. That's the big change. Those are in the margin of error. So it doesn't suggest necessarily a massive shift. But when you see Reform UK coming out on top, there's no way the political system is going to respond and talk about that.
And I guess in a way, if it was a massive shift, then that would think, oh, is this an outlier? It doesn't really make sense. But the fact that, it feels to me like we've been building to this point over a period of some weeks now.
I think this moment was a bit inevitable because the real shift that we're seeing, which you can see over a longer time period, is this, that we've entered in voting intention in opinion poll terms into a period of three-party politics. You can see actually what's going on is that those numbers are pretty close together. Now, at the moment, that's quite good for Keir Starmer because it means that 2 of his opponents are split. That is driving a conversation between people in this party and people in this party, whether they couldn't join forces. Imagine if those 2 numbers, 21% and 25%, could be added together. Some people in the Tory party, like Kemi Badenoch, said no way. Nigel Farage doesn't appear convinced about that at the moment, but it's the conversation going on in the background.
Can you talk to me about Labour's numbers as well? Because, look, they're on 24% now. I mean, how much has Labour fallen since entering government?
I think at the general election, you had Labour in the effectively it was in the low 30s to generate an extraordinary majority up in the 160 type in terms of the majority that they got in the House of Commons. Now, that has dropped right down. Yeah. It is a government. It is doing unpopular things. That is not hugely surprising. And there are up to 4.5 years until the next election. But I've gone through all the data behind this great big opinion poll, and there are other changes as well. Actually, what's happened, one really interesting switch this week, is that for the first time, Nigel Farage is more popular, or if I'm being accurate, less unpopular than Kemi Badenoch, but both of them are more popular, less unpopular than Keir Starmer. It looks as if Labour have a massive rebuilding challenge to do. They say, well, you do the difficult things at the start of a parliament, there's a big journey left to go, but it isn't straightforward.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So when it comes to the data, as I said at the beginning, there's a major problem here. The major problem is these percentages do not translate into seats. So, as we saw at the recent election, Labour won a very small percentage of the vote in respect to previous elections, but they won a massive majority because they concentrated their vote in marginal seats or seats that helped them win a massive majority. Now, Reform UK were the opposite. They had a significant portion of the vote, but it was too spread out. And it meant that they ended up with just 5 or 4 MPs. Now, at the end, they got 5. So the problem here is a number of things. First of all, why is Reform UK doing so well according to these polls? Well, if you look at the numbers here, you can see Labour are down 3 and the Tories are down 1. If you listen to polling experts like Sir John Curtis, he's mentioned it on a number of occasions. The Tories are losing out to Reform. Labour are also losing out, but to a lesser extent. So the Tories are taking a massive hammering, and a lot of people are upset with them, and they're moving to Reform. So this is where a lot of the support for Reform is coming from. Now, once again, this is polling. It's not a translation into seats. So when Sam Coates talks about, well, you could put the Conservatives and Reform together, and that would be a majority. Yes, a percentage majority, but that would not be a majority in the House of Commons. Like, we're so far away from a general election. It's highly unlikely that Kemi Badenoch will be leader of the Tories. It's unlikely that Starmer will be Prime Minister and leader of the Labour Party. I believe he will be replaced, and it could happen sometime soon. He's not very popular. He seems to be a bit of a drag on the party. So we'll have to wait until after the May elections to have a better picture. But I think he's going to go at some stage. So this snapshot, excuse me, is completely useless. Now, another reason why Reform UK are doing so well is because of media coverage. The media love Farage. They love Reform. They love putting them on and getting their opinions on everything. And this is boosting the party, because you have the public who are not happy with Labour. They want to give them a bloody nose. And they're much happier with Reform. They want to, once again, and I keep saying this, it comes down to the incumbent. Are people happy with the incumbent government? Are they happy with the status quo? Are they happy with the current situation? A lot of people are not happy. Now, they're not happy with the Conservatives, so some people are going to Reform. People who supported Labour, but mainly people who supported the Conservatives. Now, all of this could change if Labour are able to turn things around, if they're able to show people that they have improved the situation for them. It's not about growth, it's about improving public services, improving the lives of ordinary people. If the Conservatives change leader and get somebody who's a bit more competent, somebody who's more charismatic, this could change their chances as well. And also, I think time could be something that could help the Conservatives because people tend to forget. Voters have very, very bad memories. So 4 years from now, the focus will be on what Labour have achieved or not achieved, and this could benefit the Conservatives. And of course, it will benefit Reform UK unless they mess up dramatically. So Labour will likely change their leader. If they're able to turn things around, they will be able to see off the threat from the Conservatives and Reform. But for the Conservatives, if they find a new leader and are able to muddle through, they may be able to benefit from any loss in support that Reform have and the Labour Party. But once again, we're 4 years or 4.5 years out from a general election. Polls like this are completely useless. And also, once again, these percentages don't transfer into actual vote seats in Parliament. That's what we should be looking at. And once again, Reform UK at the beginning of this election cycle are not in a position where they can win a significant number of seats. They don't have the ground force. They don't have the people, the volunteers knocking on doors, promoting the party. It's very concentrated in a small number of seats at the moment. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.